The latest Gallup poll on President Trump's approval rating shows a record number of Republicans think the president's doing a good job. In the poll taken after the midterm elections, 91% approve of the president's job performance. That's compared with just 38% of all voters. But some prominent Republicans definitely disapprove, and after Trump was elected, they left their party, including George Will, a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and longtime defender of the conservative movement, and best-selling author Max Boot, who was a lifelong Republican until President Trump was elected. Boot explains his decision in his new book, The Corrosion of Conservatism: Why I Left the GOP. Max Boot, nice to have you. So our relationship started with a tweet, and it was not a nice tweet. Yes. I'm a little embarrassed.
Our relationship, so to speak.
Well, I think we have a relationship now. We've tweeted, and you're sitting in my studio.
Exactly.
That's actually like next step
Gone
of marriage.
from virtual to actual.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Don't tell your husband.
You had written about this epiphany in leaving, that led you to leave the Republican Party. I think it was in Foreign Policy magazine.
Yes,
is that right? And
correct.
then I answered back to you that someone called it gutsy, and I said that I didn't think it was gutsy, that I thought actually that you'd been oblivious to basic experiences of women and people of color, and then you kind of put the whole thing in your book, so I guess I sort of appreciate that kind of sort of. What was the thing? Was there one thing that made you say, I need to leave this party?
Well, it was the rise of Donald Trump. I mean, and his rise really opened my eyes to a lot of things, including stuff, as you pointed out, that I should have been more aware of earlier on. But I was in a fairly tribal or partisan bunker up until the rise of Donald Trump. And so when people, for example, said that the Republican Party was dog whistling the racists, I refused to believe it. I said, hey, I'm not racist. My friends aren't racist. What are you talking about? But then with Donald Trump, it moved from a dog whistle to a wolf whistle. And it became so loud that even I could not deny it. And it really jarred me out of my partisan bubble and made me realize what was really going on. So
what then is really going on? I mean, is the Republican Party just people who are fine with the wolf whistles of racism and xenophobia? How would you assess it?
Well, I wouldn't say that all Republicans are racist, but what I would say is that for all Republicans who still support Donald Trump, his overt racism is not a disqualifier. They don't view it as a make or break issue, and that is very sad.
When did the GOP do their autopsy? Was it 2008, right after Obama won, or 2012?
Yeah, when they concluded they needed to lure in more minorities.
What happened?
Well, I think you have to give Donald Trump credit. I mean, he does have a talent as a salesman, and he was able to read the mood of the American electorate and realize that he could squeeze votes out of basically angry old white people, and those are the people who tend to vote.
Never Trumpers. Lindsey Graham, he once said, Donald Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic bigot. And now, well, now in addition to all the love and gulf that he has for President Trump, he says, I've never heard him make a racist statement. Explícame.
It's inexplicable, except it just reflects the lust for power that a lot of people in Washington have. I mean, you can run down those quotes. This was not like saying, I disagree with him on a few issues. This is saying he is morally and intellectually unfit to be president, and they're still endorsing them. So
there is a Republican senator in Mississippi who's up for re-election, and she said this about a supporter. Her name is Cindy Hyde-Smith. If he invited me to a public hanging, I'd be on the front row. And she later said that that was an expression of regard for the person, but she's literally describing a lynching in Mississippi, and her opponent is black.
Yeah, well, I think you've always had these kinds of foul sentiments in American society. What's changed now is that Donald Trump is bringing them out into the open, and in particular for the Republican Party, they are emulating his race-baiting, immigrant-bashing example.
Are you a Democrat now? You told people that they should vote Democrat.
No, I'm an independent. I have not joined the Democratic Party, although I told everybody to vote 100% Democratic, because I think the only way the Republican Party will ever come to its senses is if it suffers repeated and devastating defeats at the ballot box.
My husband thought my tweet to you was wrong. He said, listen, if anybody's going to change their mind about things, you have to embrace them and welcome them, not send them snarky tweets.
I like your husband. Sight unseen.
I like him too, and he's probably right about that. Thanks for coming in to talk about it.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.